Do you know how many choices you make in a day? Just take a guess, somebody, throw out a number. Somebody thinks someone said 30 or 50, 100, 1,000. You know what they say? 6,700. That's a lot of choices. Really, go look this up. They estimate that you make in a day, an adult makes 35,000 choices in a day. 35,000 choices. And some of you are like, no wonder I'm so tired. I'm making all these choices. Now, that can be all kinds of choices, from like which way you're going to look to what you're going to eat to what you're going to do, which way you're going to move. There's all kinds of choices throughout a day that you are making, a lot that you know about, and some that you're not even thinking about as you choose, but you are making constantly choices. You know how many choices a kid makes in a day? Children, they make 3,000. It's because you're making all their choices. It's so hard, right? So there's all these choices that we're making. Now, they're not all equal. They don't all have the same weight in the choice that we make, but they're all choices that we're in any given day. They say that you make 50 to 200 consequential choices. Important choices. Now, when I read that, I was like, really? But it's not just things like, because we think of big choices like who I'm going to get married to, or who I'm going to date, or what job, or what career, or if I'm going to school, or those kinds, if I'm going to do homework even, those kinds of things. But it's more than just those. There are other decisions that you're making throughout the day that are pointing to intentionally and sometimes non-intentionally, but are shaping your life to who you're going to be and affect the destiny of your life. So there's little choices we make that, and then there's these other 50 or 200 choices we're making that just kind of like click the dial one notch throughout a day of who you're actually going to be. There's all these choices that we're making that are shaping us, and truthfully, they're either moving us closer to Jesus or they're pulling us further away from who He is and what He wants for our life. Our choices are defining us. And I think you know that. C.S. Lewis said this. I love C.S. Lewis. He said, every time you make a choice, you're turning the central part of you, the part of you that chooses, into something a little different than it was before. And taking your life as a whole, you are slowly turning the central thing, that central part of you, into a heavenly creature or a hellish creature. He's basically saying, as we choose, we're either going to be more like Jesus or we're not going to be like Him. And I'm telling you today, as you're in the middle of making 35,000 choices, you're going to have 50 or 200 that really make a difference. They just slightly turn the dial of who you're going to be in your life, and is it going to look like Jesus? Now, the Bible teaches us, James tells us in chapter 3, he talks about these choices, and he says there's two different approaches. He takes all these choices, and really it comes down to two different ways that you're either going to live. And so I want to read about that today. This is our theme for the day. James chapter 3, starting in verse 13. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by what? Their choices, by their deeds done, how? In humility that comes from wisdom. Now, when we read that, I'm going to pick back up, but that word in humility, we think of, I don't know what you think of, but there's another word there. It's actually also in meekness is another word, to be meek. So we're doing these deeds, making these choices, he said, in meekness. Now, when we think of the word meekness, like some of us think of like, well, it's like, or even humility, that like I'm a mat that you can just step on and walk all over. And that's really not what meekness and true humility is at all. It's not becoming a doormat for people to walk on in your life. Actually, meekness is like picture a stallion who's under control. Somebody who has strength, but it's controlled strength to choose not to use it in any way that they wish. And that's what he's saying here, is that you got to do good deeds, you got to do deeds in humility from wisdom, that you're under control in what you do. Verse 14, but if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom, and he puts it in parentheses there, does not come down from heaven, but, check this, is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. That's strong. Verse 16, for where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find what? Disorder and every evil practice. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Verse 18, peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of peace. No, that's not what it says. It says righteousness, right? But you would think that it would say peace, right? If you sow peace, you think you would receive peace. But it says actually, if you sow in peace, you're going to receive in righteousness. We'll come back to that. So here's what I want to teach you today. First, James is telling us wisdom is more than knowledge. When we think about wisdom, it's not the same as knowledge. And knowledge is knowing facts, right? Wisdom is applying God's truth to our life. See, I've heard it said like this: knowledge can build a house, wisdom can make it a home. Like, there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge. That means you can be uneducated. Where my C students at? Come on, somebody. Yeah, there's like two of us in the room. Whoop, whoop. We can still have wisdom, all right? Because it's not just about and we see this, like that there's something we're still lacking. We have more knowledge than we've ever had. And yet, it hasn't really done much for us. Like, yeah, now we have access to chat. Anybody know chat? ChatGPT? Yeah, I like chat. Okay, my wife hates chat. We're in a moment with our relationship in this. She's just having to forgive me. I like chat so much, literally, I told chat, just call me Derek. And so it'll say Derek. It'll just talk to me. I mean, I like chat. That's okay if you don't. I'm not putting that on you. But I mean, I'll find myself asking chat all kinds of questions throughout the day. And what's the best way to do this? What's the best, like literally the other day I was like, I'm mapping something out. And I was like, can you tell me the best, I was cooking dinner. And I was like, can you give me, like we had friends coming over where I was making several dishes. I was like, put this in order of the best way, most effective way for me to do it. And it said, sure, Derek. And it just laid out a whole list. And it said, and by the way, Derek, can I tell you, if you'll add a little lemon to that chicken, it'll be right on point. And chat, thank you. You were correct. You know what I mean? And so, like, not push. What I'm telling you, though, we have all kinds of access to knowledge, but it still isn't true wisdom. I actually found this. I thought it was so funny. These are questions people really ask the ChatGPT. So it's like the 5 questions. I'm just going to read 2 of them because some of them we just won't even go there. But some questions people are asking ChatGPT. Are you ready for this? So true questions people are asking. One question someone said, "My spouse says that I'm fine. What does that actually mean?" My wife said I'm fine. What does that actually mean? Woo, I don't know. It could be scary. I like this one. How do I eat healthy, save money, get in shape, sleep 8 hours, and have peace and not have to change my lifestyle? We love knowledge, but wisdom sometimes we're far from. The truth is you're making approximately 35,000 choices a day. And 50 to 200 of them are shaping your life. And are they taking you closer to Christ or further from Him? And James is telling us it all comes down into 2 categories. You're either going to use heavenly wisdom or earthly wisdom. What are you using? So the question we have to ask ourselves, and you can fill this in on your outline, what kind of wisdom will guide my choices? What kind of wisdom am I going to use to guide the choices that I make? Am I going to use heavenly wisdom, or am I going to use what James calls earthly wisdom that really leads to dangerous places? Now, when we talk about earthly wisdom, James tells us that there's essentially two roots of it. He said that. He said bitter jealousy, and he said selfish ambition. So bitter jealousy, bitterness is not a place, it's a dangerous place. And here's the thing that's so scary about bitterness is that we become bitter. All of us have had moments in our life when we're bitter towards something or someone or a problem. And a lot of times, like, we'll feel like, here's what makes bitterness so scary is we'll think, well, we have a good reason to be bitter because they did me wrong. They hurt me. I can be bitter. But the scary part about bitterness that the Bible teaches is that bitterness never stays isolated. What does that mean? It never stays in just one area of your life. Hear me. So I can't just be bitter at this person and think that bitterness will never color and shape the lens in which I see the rest of my life. Like when you hold bitterness in one area of your life, it will creep into the other places of your life. When you hold bitterness in your soul, it will contaminate your whole soul. Bitterness is scary and dangerous. Bitter jealousy. It will move us, shape us, hurt us. It'll shape our whole heart. And it'll click the dial slowly but surely into a life we do not want. So we have to ask ourselves, am I holding on to offense? Am I viewing life through the lens of hurt? I got hurt by that church. I got hurt by that person. I got hurt by that relationship. I got hurt dating this person, and now it shapes the rest of my life and how I date. I got hurt in this church, and now I don't trust God and I don't trust people because they hurt me. I'm telling you, bitter jealousy can destroy you. It also says, James tells us, selfish ambition is one of these places of earthly wisdom that leads to it. It's a life centered on me, on self, my success, my comfort, my desires, my advancement. And instead of asking what honors God, we start asking what's best for me. And when we ask what's best for me, we're pointing to that we're living in earthly wisdom. And I'm telling you, earthly wisdom, what's so scary about it, the Bible, James saying it looks wise, but it's actually, it's unspiritual. It leads to death. It's not good for you, and it's not from heaven. It's not from God, and it's not His heart for you. There is a heavenly wisdom available to us, but we have to watch because this earthly wisdom is filled with bitter jealousy and selfish ambition. And there's drivers that lead us into these two places. And those drivers of earthly wisdom, the first driver that drives us to selfish ambition, that drives us into bitter jealousy, drives us into living out of earthly wisdom, the first driver that's pushing you into that is the world, right? The Bible teaches us it's the world. It's the outer influences of the earth that we allow on the inside of us. If you have bitterness in your heart, and don't you know, if you have bitterness in your heart, hear me, that the enemy of your soul will send you opportunities to have more bitterness. If you have bitterness in your heart, the enemy of your soul will send bitter people, bitter headlines, bitter social media stories. You're bitter. Before you know it, you'll be living in a bitter algorithm, thinking that this is just the way the world is. And if you're selfish, don't you know the enemy will put selfishness around you? People who are selfish, conversations about I'm just telling you. So you have to decide, how much of the world am I going to let into my life? Because the more of the world I let into my life, it's driving me to think in an earthly wisdom kind of way that leads to death and slowly turns my life away from God. So how much of the world, can I just preach it like I'm feeling it for a second? Thank you. I will preach to you too. Let me ask you, do you know more about pop culture than you do James chapter 3? My name is Derek. I am your friend. Do you know more about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's, engagement or whatever it is than you do what the Bible teaches on this stuff? Honestly, do we know more about why Bachelorette isn't airing right now than we do Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? I'm just being honest. We have to start asking ourselves, maybe we're letting the world affect us and how we think and how we act and how we see, and it's slowly creeping the dial to lead us in a direction that we don't want to end in that place. So we have to decide that we're not going to because listen, hear me. If you let earthly wisdom lead you, you'll parent out of earthly wisdom. You'll lead out of earthly wisdom. You'll do friendships out of earthly wisdom. And when someone inevitably hurts you and wrongs you, because they will, you'll respond out of earthly wisdom. And it's slowly creaking the tone of your life to be what you're not called to be. See, it's the world drives us. There's another place that drives us into this earthly wisdom, and that is our flesh. The flesh, living by our feelings rather than the truth. If you feel, and I'll just tell you, I'll just be honest with you, because we've all done this. We all do this from time to time. And your flesh, when you respond to it, sometimes it feels pretty good. It does. When you respond in selfishness and bitterness, it can feel good for a moment. But it leads us somewhere, because we have learned you can't let your feelings make the choices of your life, because it will lead you. So are you going to be led by your feelings or by the truth? Our culture bends even God's word to fit our feelings. And God is calling us to bend our life and our feelings to the power of his word. Do you hear what I'm saying? No longer let a culture bend what God said to fit under how you feel. Instead, take how you feel to say, God, what do you want for my life? I will move. And then the final one is the devil. I don't think that we have, I don't blame the devil for everything, but I want to tell you, the devil is very real, and the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy your life. And I'm just telling you, if you don't put guards up, he will send you into a life of disorder, confusion, broken relationships that lead to evil practices in your day-to-day life. So you have to ask, am I going to let the devil have a foothold in my life? Am I going to? Because if he has a foothold in my life, he will have me listening to earthly wisdom that will take me to the place where I'm not like God. That is what he will do. If you want to know just kind of a good self-check question for you in the areas of your life that maybe you're using earthly wisdom and not heavenly wisdom, you could ask yourself, is there an area in my life that's out of order? Because the promise that James said is that earthly wisdom will lead you to a life that's in disorder. So is there something in my life that feels out of order? That probably means that I'm using earthly wisdom. And God has not come to punish us today or beat us up, and that's definitely not my heart. God has come to encourage us and to restore that there is a better way. Everybody say a better way. Heavenly wisdom. There is a better way. The Bible teaches, James says, hey, you can actually do something different. You don't have to live from this earthly wisdom place. You can live from a place that receives heavenly wisdom. And he gives us 8 qualities of what heavenly wisdom looks like. I'm not going to teach all 8. I got 6, okay? But I'm going to go through it fast. But number one, heavenly wisdom honors God. Honors God. While the enemy still kills and destroys and wants us to make small compromises, heavenly wisdom says, I'm going to put God first. I'm going to be pure. That's the word that James uses, pure. Completely loyal to God. Completely undivided in my devotion to him. James 4 verse 8 says, come close to God and God will come close to you. Wash your hands because you're sinful. Purify your hearts for your, check it, loyalty is divided between God and the world. Your loyalty is divided between heavenly wisdom and earthly wisdom. So why don't you wash your hands, come back to God, purify yourself, because he has a better way, heavenly wisdom. It's not going to have a divided loyalty. You're going to have a singular focus, undivided attention to the Spirit of God. It's that place that gets you where you're like, God, it doesn't even matter if it's right by me or right by my thoughts. If it's right to you, then I'm all for it. Like, I'm going to trust you, promote what you want in my life. And if it's right, it's right. It doesn't matter whether it's going to benefit me or not. I'm going to do it because I'm pure of heart and it's the right thing to do. This is the call that God has for us. So we have to decide that we're going to come to God and honor him in this way. It doesn't matter. I'm going to honor God because it's the right thing to do, because I'm pure of heart. I'm trusting you, Lord. You've told me, and we believe your word from cover to the maps. Come on, somebody. Right? We believe your, like, two people have like Bibles in your hands. Y'all know it has the maps back there, right? Okay, that was just a Christian joke, and I thought y'all would get it. That's okay. But we have to decide, what does God want in this situation? Am I going to honor him? I'm not going to ask what's easiest, what do I want, but what honors God? That's what I want to do. Number two, heavenly wisdom promotes peace. Now, y'all know peace is not the absence of problems, but peace is the presence of God. It's literally shalom. Biblical peace, wholeness, completeness, stability. And we know that we cannot control everyone and everything. You know this, that you cannot, because some of you are trying right now to control something and they just won't get with the program. You can't control everyone. You can't control everything, but you can control your response. You can control yourself in the middle of it. In fact, Proverbs says, a wise man controls his temper. He knows that anger causes mistakes. What is it saying? It's saying, hey, peace will lead you to heavenly wisdom, shalom. Recently, we went to Dollywood. Silas is, you had to go in. He's 7. They had to check his height, and he could ride everything in Dollywood except for 2 bigger roller coasters. But there's a ton of roller coasters. If you've never been to Dollywood, it was my first time. It's a lot of fun. There's this one called the Big Bear. All right, and so it's like the longest in length roller coaster in the entire Dollywood. And Silas is just like, let's go. And we get in line, and he's like, no. He gets nervous, like, no. And he got out of line, then he got back in line, and he finally did it. He's like, that was so much fun. Let's do it again. And so we started riding roller coasters. He did an amazing job, rode so many different roller coasters. We came back, and his grandpa, which is a thrill seeker, is like, let's get on the very front row of Big Bear. So Silas and Grandpa get on the front row of Big Bear. Nikki and I are right behind them on the second row of Big Bear. And Silas, they put down the little strap thing, buckle him in, and he's like, I don't know about this. I'm like, it's too late now, buddy. We got to go. Once you're buckled in, you're stuck. They won't let you back out. I don't even think that's true. But one would overcome this fear. We take off. He starts screaming, Mom! Mommy! I want my mom! And he'd go between that laughing, and then he started doing this, Shalom! 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 I'm not even making it up. How do you know you're a PK, a pastor's kid? Shalom! 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 What am I telling you? I'm saying that there's going to be a roller coaster in your life. Isn't it so true? That takes you in places at a speed and some drops that you didn't see coming. And you might find yourself on the front row. The Bible promises that there's a peace that we can have that comes from heavenly wisdom, that can comfort us, and we have to decide, are we going to create peace or live in the chaos of the roller coaster of life? Number 3, heavenly wisdom considers others. It is considerate. I love this. I've heard this is something I've heard a long time ago. Considerate, the word, a way to think about that is to consider it. So are you considerate? Do you consider it? When you deal with others, do you pause to consider them? Romans 15 verse 1 says, we who are strong must be considerate, there's the word considerate, of those who are sensitive about things like this. We must not just please ourselves. We should help others do what is right and build them up in the Lord. And then it tells us, for even Christ didn't leave to please. Even he was considerate. Even Christ was that way. So before reacting, heavenly wisdom says we pause, we listen, we seek to understand, we consider it. Instead of just choosing my way, we ask, here's a great question, help me understand your perspective. What am I talking about? I'm saying like you're going to have, especially in your relationships, we just talked about in all of our relationships in Philippians 2, like Christ Jesus, have the same mind as Christ. We read that this morning, Philippians 2. Philippians 2 said, in all your relationships, have the same mindset as Jesus. Well, Jesus was considerate. He considered it. He thought about others. This requires that we humble ourselves. It's not my way or the highway, but it's, can I see your perspective? Can I learn from you? I just so wish, and I think we have this, and I just so want to protect it, and I want it to grow in our church. But we're considerate of one another, where we can have different people from different backgrounds. Like, I didn't grow up in your neighborhood. I didn't see the world like you saw it. My parents weren't in the same kind of class as your parents, or all these different things that make us so different. They had different value systems. But, even though I grew up differently and there was a different value system, I want to understand. I want to listen. I want to hear your perspective. What was that like? I didn't know that. You hear me? I want to consider it. I want to be a considerate person, because there we have ears to hear from one another. We're in humility with one another. And I'm not talking about what's black and white in the Bible. That's not what I'm talking about, like not consider sin. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying there's a lot of things that aren't about right and wrong. They're about wise and unwise. And will you be considerate that someone might have a different perspective of you? And that doesn't make them the enemy. It doesn't make them, it's a preference even sometimes. Are you willing to consider it? Because the Bible, and I love this, heavenly wisdom, I love how they build off of one another, is willing to yield. To yield. To yield, well, what's going on in my life? To yield when I've considered it and know maybe I was wrong. Maybe I didn't do the right thing. Maybe I didn't see it the right way at first. Maybe someone can help me understand. Some of us, we've got this idea of like, well, I'm an adult and I think the way I think, and this is the way I was raised, and this is the way my mama thought, my daddy thought. Can I say something in love to you? Maybe your mom and daddy was wrong. I know your mom and daddy, and they're great people. You love them, and that's bless them. But they can be wrong. And maybe you're wrong. And maybe you need to consider it. And be willing to yield when you're wrong. And say, hey, I don't think I got that right. It's such a great mark of heavenly wisdom when someone can say, yeah, I think I missed that one. Yeah, I think I've changed my mind on that. Yeah, I think I've learned something new. You hear what I'm saying, everybody? This is a beautiful picture. Like, we can't just have our way. Like, on everything. Just because we're adults, I'm going to have it my way. I mean, you know what the great theologian said? With great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man. So, just making sure y'all are awake out there. Proverbs actually says, fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to others. Heavenly wisdom is allowing people to be able to teach you something, for you to be able to change your mind. And it's not always about, like I said, right and wrong. It's about wise and unwise. Are you willing to yield? Are you willing to say, humble yourself and say, I think I'm wrong. I think I've been doing this wrong. I think there's a better way. I think that I need to learn some more. I think that I need to try something different. I think I need to humble myself. I think I need to say I'm sorry. I'm telling you, this is heavenly wisdom. Number 5, heavenly wisdom covers the faults of others. Above all, 1 Peter says, love each other deeply because love covers a multitude of sins. Now, I want to make this very clear. There's a difference between covering up and covering with love. I'm not talking about covering up. Covering up wants to hide sin, and that's not what I'm saying. But covering them, even while they're dealing with the consequence of their actions, even while they're having to do things, it's like I'm going to love you and cover you in my love, even while you're dealing with the consequence of the thing you chose. This is one of the greatest callings as a pastor. It's for all of us, but as a pastor, I get to see all the time, is to make the choice to love people, to cover them in love while I know that they're going to have to pay for the consequences of the things that they're doing that are not of heart of God. It's actually really hard for me because I love so deeply. And I know God's loved me so deeply, but there's times, and I've had people in my life do it and probably will have to do it again. God, I hope, please, no. But, our heart is deceiving, and sometimes we just go the wrong way. And you watch people do the thing that, they know they shouldn't be doing. And I'm not saying that there's not consequences. There are. But I'm going to choose to cover. Cover with my love. Hey, you can continue to live the wrong way, but I'm going to love you. I'm going to still be here when you're ready. I'm going to still be here when you're willing to yield. When you choose heavenly wisdom and stop living in this earthly way. And when you find that, my love will cover. This is the beautiful part about Jesus. Right? That his love covers us. I mean, I know that there's some really hard things you're walking through right now. I'm sure. I'm not thinking of anybody, but there's transitions in your life or finances are stressing you out or decisions you have to make or a relationship seems broken or dreams you thought that you wanted never seem like they're going to happen. There's a lot of bad, hard things we're dealing with. Can I just remind you that you still have a good life? Why? I mean, you still have a really good life. Step away from all those. You still have an awesome life. How are you here? Because God's love has covered. It's covered you. It's taken care of you. It's provided for you. And it will continue to provide even now. See, heavenly wisdom teaches us to follow God and to cover others in the love that covers us. Finally, heavenly wisdom has no agenda. James says that it's impartial, it's sincere. In other words, it's not going to manipulate to get its way. It's going to simply say, I want what honors God. No manipulation, no hidden motive, no agenda. I just want what honors God. Earthly wisdom will ask you what's good for me. Heavenly wisdom asks what honors God. So which one are you going to follow? I know that these things can sound crazy. You're like, that sounds great, Derek, but would this really work in my life, like in the boardroom and the school? It's like a dog-eat-dog world, right? Like, people are mean. Like, how do I carry that? I'm telling you that there's a promise that James makes us. I want to close with this. James chapter 3, verse 18. We read it earlier. Peacemakers who sow in peace will reap a harvest of what? Righteousness. Not peace, but righteousness. If you dig into that word righteousness, it's also the word, it's actually more closely in a lot of ways related to the word justice. Peacemakers who sow in peace will reap a harvest of justice. One commentator called it, God is the guardian of justice, and he will be just to the peacemaker. Justice. See, the text is saying, God says, if you operate according to heavenly wisdom, even when it costs you, even when it feels like you're doing right and you're getting wrong, come on, when you felt like, hey, I'm going to start doing the right thing and things just got worse. Even when you feel like you're not getting ahead and people who are operating in earthly wisdom are, if you keep doing what is right, even when it seems like the devil is on the other side pushing people ahead of you and in front of you and you're trying to operate in heavenly wisdom, if you keep doing what is right, the promise is that you will reap a harvest from a just God, the guardian of justice. In other words, he's saying if you will keep on pressing and keep on doing the right thing, and it might not be right now, it might not be a week from now, but he's saying, I got you. That I will take care of you. I will cover you. I will make sure that favor comes upon your life and blessing, promotion, and the things that aren't from the world, they're from me. And listen, you can get there the world's way, just being honest. You can get to some of the places you're seeking through earthly wisdom, but I'm telling you, because I know it to be true, that if you will do things God's way and heavenly wisdom, he's saying, I will take you there. And when I take you there, no one can take you from there if I'm the one that puts you there. And I'm telling you, the Lord is going to do that in our lives. When we choose heavenly wisdom, because when we sow in peace, we reap a harvest of his justice. And he is just and loving to us. I heard the story of Corrie ten Boom. Y'all know Corrie ten Boom. Dutch Christian living in Holland during World War II. It was during Nazi occupation. And they were protecting Jewish people, her and her sister, Betsy. And they were eventually sent to a concentration camp. The Nazis discovered them. Someone betrayed them. They're sent to a concentration camp. Betsy, they're both arrested. They're sent. She would die. Betsy would die, but Corrie lived. They endured all the things you would think of: cruelty, starvation, suffering. But Corrie survived and was released, and then she would take her life and share the gospel with her life, teaching about forgiveness and Jesus all throughout the world. And she found herself in Germany, true story, and she's speaking At the end of her speaking, people are approaching her. She sees from a distance a familiar face. It was a guard. She recalls one of the cruelest guards, quote, one of the cruelest guards from the concentration camp is approaching her. She sees this guard approaching her, and all of a sudden, all the fear wells back up in her. He comes to her, and he starts to tell her that if it's true, everything she just said about the blood of Jesus, isn't it amazing that he could even wash away the sin that I have? And he puts out his hand and says, will you forgive me? She says, as she recounted this, that in that moment, anger, hurt, and fear welled up inside her like she had never felt in her life. And she did not want to forgive him. But she says that she chose wisdom to do the things she didn't want to do. And so she shook his hand and said, I forgive you. Later, she said it was from that moment she can remember freedom, peace, healing like she had never felt before in her life. What am I saying? There's a better way. You're making 35,000 choices. 50 to 200 are dialing in what your life is going to look like. Choose wisely. Choose heavenly wisdom.